Hey everyone, I'm Cassie Hobel-Heinrich, Nebraska Farm Bureau's Communication Coordinator. Typically each week you see me bring you a newswire video, but this week in celebration of County Fair Week, I thought I would bring you inside my kitchen and show you how to make what I consider a classic 4-H recipe. I was part of 4-H for 11 years up in Wayne County where I grew up. Spring Branch was my club name, and being part of 4-H was a big part of my life, and I did learn a lot of valuable skills over the years. We did a lot of baking in my house. We made cookies, brownies, pies, bread, you name it, we made it, and we always showed at the county fair. So today I wanted to show everyone how to make one of the first recipes I learned being part of 4-H, and that is Snickerdoodles. It's a pretty easy recipe. Younger kids can get involved and help out with this, and at the end of it you have a really great treat. I actually have the original recipe printed off from my 4-H cookbook, and we're going to follow that, and then you can see that I have all of the ingredients and tools already gathered, and that's a key thing. Get everything gathered together before you get started. So we'll just go ahead and get started. I've got my bowl, but we're going to set that aside to begin with, because first off we're going to sift all of our dry ingredients together. So I have got a parchment paper. You can use wax paper. If you need to, you can even put your dry ingredients into a bowl, because we're going to sift them and then we're going to set them aside. So I've got a sifter here. This is very cool. It's actually my mother-in-law's mother's sifter that was handed down to us. Just a fun little fact there. And let's just go ahead and get started. So first off, you're going to need to get 3 cups of flour. Snickerdoodles do take quite a bit of flour, but they're well worth it. So one of the tricks that I learned through 4-H is when you're baking, it's a little bit like science. You got to have the exact measurements of everything that you're using. So one of the tricks 4-H taught me is to take the back of your knife and scrape it across the top of your measuring cup. So that way you know that you have exactly 1 cup of flour here. And like I said, we're going to need 3 of these. So I'll just go ahead and get that scooped up and measured out. And we're just putting it inside of the sifter here. And it's great to get your ingredients all sifted together. Make sure they're properly mixed up. All right, there we go. We've got our 3 cups of flour. All right, next on the recipe is 2 teaspoons of cream of tartar. And I know what you're thinking, with a name like cream of tartar, it should be creamy, but it's actually a dry ingredient. So here we go. We've got our teaspoon here. And again, with these, you want to make sure it's level. So I'll use the top of the cap of my cream of tartar. So there's 1. And let's go ahead and get the next one in there. And there is 2. So we've got our 2 teaspoons. Next, we need a little bit of baking soda, and that is just 1 teaspoon. I keep my baking soda in a different container than the original box, so we'll just get my baking soda out of there. We'll put that in the sifter, so there we go. And then finally, our last dry ingredient that's going to go in here is just a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now, it's always good to measure out your salt over top of a different container, a spare bowl, something, because if you accidentally overpour, you don't want your cookies to become too salty. So we'll put that in there. All right, so that is all of our dry ingredients. So now that we've got them in here, I'm going to go ahead and start sifting. And you just kind of sift them around, making a little pile on your parchment paper, your wax paper, wherever you decide to sift them. All right, doesn't take too long. Now, once we have that done, just want to make sure everything gets out of the bottom of our sifter. Okay, there we go. We have our sifted ingredients. I'm just going to place this off to the side over here, and then we'll get started on our wet ingredients. For that, we've got our bowl. So first of our wet ingredients, we have half a cup of margarine. And that's really easy to remember. Half a cup is 1 stick of margarine. It's best to let this sit out a little bit and let the margarine soften. It'll make it easier to cream together with your sugar and your eggs once we get to that point. The other thing you need is half a cup of shortening. I use Crisco, but you can use any brand of shortening that you like. I already have that measured out. And again, you can see it's a level measure. So I'll just use my spatula here to get it out of the bowl. It's a little sticky. And try to get as much as you can there. All right, so there we go. That is in there. And then the instructions say to go ahead and cream your butter or your margarine and your shortening. You can use a stand mixer for this. When I was growing up, we always used a hand mixer, so that's what I'm going to use today. And it doesn't take too long, just a couple minutes of creaming them together. Okay, and then once you feel that you've got them creamed up enough, you can turn that off, and then we're going to add some sugar. Now this recipe calls for 1.5 cups of sugar. So I'm going to go ahead and get that out of my sugar container over here. And again, with this, you want to make sure your measurements are level. So use that knife to scrape off any extra sugar off the top. So there's 1 cup, and now we need 1/2 cup. And make sure those are level. Once again, use your knife, and then put your sugar in to the bowl. And now it's mixing time once again. Okay, and what we're going for here is just a light and fluffy texture. Hopefully you can kind of see what that looks like there, just light and fluffy. And then it's time to add your eggs. We've got 2 eggs that go into this. I've got them right here. And now what you want to do is just crack on the side of the bowl and gently pull your egg apart. And I would say it's always smart to add your eggs one at a time, making sure that you have no extra shells in there, and then give it a quick mix. Okay, that looks good. And then add your second egg. And then we'll give that another quick mix. Okay, now that this is all mixed up, we're ready to put our sifted dry ingredients in there. So I'm going to pull them back down here. And you'll want to just be a little careful with this. Make sure you don't spill them. Try to move your mixer out of the way as much as possible. So you just gently grab up your paper. Careful. Fold it up and then gently, just slowly put your dry ingredients into your bowl. Now when you do start mixing this, you want to make sure you start mixing on a fairly low setting so that way your flour and your dry ingredients just don't go flying everywhere out of the bowl. So I'll give them a little bit of a hand stir just to kind of get that started. And then we'll just turn this on to our lowest setting and start mixing in. Okay, now we're ready for the next step. We've got our cookie dough all mixed up right here, but we need to go ahead and make the Snicker for our doodle. And to do that, we're going to need a little bit more sugar. So you need 2 tablespoons of sugar. And you're going to put this in a small bowl. You can use a cereal bowl or a small mixing bowl. It really doesn't matter. So put your 2 tablespoons of sugar in there. And then we need 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And then once you have that in a bowl, just mix it up. And what we're going to do is this is making a coating for our cookie dough. Okay, we've got our cookie dough, we've got our coating mixed up, and now it is time to roll out the cookies and get them baking. So you want to take a tablespoon and just scoop out a little bit of cookie dough, and this is the part that's fun for kids. You can use your hands to roll up your cookie dough, and what we're looking for is about an inch size ball. So I've got a little extra there, I'll just toss it back in the bowl. So we've got about an inch size cookie dough ball here, and then just coat it with your cinnamon sugar. Make sure you get all sides covered, and then you just place on your cookie sheet. And that's an ungreased cookie sheet, and we're going to fill out this cookie sheet. You place them about an inch or so apart. Now, one of the reasons to use a spoon to scoop up your cookie dough is that we're going for a uniform size and shape. That will help the cookies bake evenly. Now, as you coat the cookies, if you do run out of that cinnamon sugar, you can go ahead and mix up some more. All right, we've got our full sheet of cookies, and now it's time to pop them in the oven. I've preheated the oven to 400 degrees, and these will bake for about 8 to 10 minutes or until they become golden brown and crispy on the edges. Okay, we have our cookies. Now you may be wondering, what makes a good cookie besides being delicious? They should be sweet, but it shouldn't be overpowering. And the 4-H book says that all the ingredients should be evenly mixed, and we're going for a delicate brown on the top and bottom, so we obviously don't want burnt cookies. Now with these, they should be crisp on the outside, but moist on the inside. And now if you're showing at the fair, you'd want to pick out the most uniform cookies. That means that you want them to be the same size, the same shape, the same bake, and look as similar as possible. And I guess among these, I would maybe single out these 4 cookies. Well, thanks for baking along with me today. I hope you had a lot of fun. And thanks for celebrating County Fair Week. And if your county fair is still on, we wish you the best of luck with all of your projects. Thanks for watching.